New Year's, also be safe. So, that being said, let's talk about the game. And it was funny because I feel like I've lost a day here because Monday was Christmas and then today's Tuesday and nobody really was on the air saying much. There were a few people out there who said a few things, but not a lot was talked about the Dolphins. It was like it was a time warp and it was just gone, a blip. Everybody was focused on the 49ers and the Ravens game. So I had to actually dig to come up with a outline of a show here today because there just wasn't a lot of information. People just kind of blew it off. Yeah, okay, they beat the Cowboys, let's move on. Well, let's not move on. Let's discuss that for a quick minute. That quick minute is the demon has been exorcised. The demon has been cast out. All spells are gone. I was going to get a video of Linda Blair's head spinning around from the exorcism, but I figured I might get in trouble from YouTube or it might just gross some people out. So I said, nah, let me not do that. Maybe I was going to get something from Beetlejuice and put that up there. Nah, let's just talk about it. The demon has been exorcised. Everything is done. No longer can people say the Dolphins have not beat a winning football team. That's over. I know some people like to say the word narrative. It's not a narrative, it was a fact. And that fact is no longer fact. So it can't be bandied about anymore. The Dolphins beat a winning football team. Thank God for Jason Sanders. I mean, that guy should be the player of the week in the NFL. 57, 54, 52, 16 total points scored. Amazing. He won the game for the Miami Dolphins. And so we're going to go through some things here, and I just wanted to just talk about that for a second. And I think you guys all know this, but I just want to emphasize it. There are 3 stages to a football game, any football game. Offense, defense, and special teams. We all know that. They go into the game where you're hoping your offense dominates. And if your offense doesn't dominate, then you hope that your defense dominates. Special teams, you're basically saying, hey, listen, just don't screw up. Just don't mess up. You don't go into a football game, any football game, go and say, my special teams is the best in the league and we're going to take you down just with my special teams. But that's exactly what happened. Offense from both sides of the ball, whether it be the Cowboys offense or the Miami Dolphins offense, nobody really impressed me. It just wasn't impressive of a win for the Miami Dolphins on offense. And it wasn't an impressive offensive display for Dak and the Cowboys as well. I'm going to prove that to you before anyone gets their feathers all ruffled up. So what I got here is I've pulled up the stats from the game. And it's very interesting when you look at these stats. Let me just make sure I pull it. Boom. All right. So here's the stats for the game. And I want you guys to take a look at this. All right. Dallas passing. Prescott was 20 for 32 for 253 and 2 touchdowns. Tua was 24 for 37 for 293 and 1 touchdown. Basically, just about the same. No real advantage to either team based on the passing of the quarterbacks. You can just look at that and see. I mean, they're basically identical. Nothing, no advantage. If this was tennis, it's a deuce. There's no advantage here. Then you want to look at the running game. The running game, Mostert had 46 yards. Pollard had 38. And they had some contributions by some other guys. And the Dolphins were 26 for 91. And the Cowboys were 25 for 97. Again, deuce. Nobody with a big advantage there. Deuce in the rushing, deuce in the passing. Now let's look at the receiving. Tyreek, 9 for 99 out of 14 targets. CeeDee Lamb disappeared after the second quarter. 6 receptions for 118. And you already saw what the yardage was, 24 for 293 and 20 for 253. No real decided advantage there. Deuce once again. And I think, I'll get to this in a bit about Tyreek. So no offensive firepower that overwhelmed the other team. Passing, deuce. Rushing, deuce. Receiving, deuce. No advantage. And then you get down here, turnovers, Dak had one, and he lost that one at the goal line. Big problem. Turnovers, it cost him 7 points. Tua fumbled once, but he also recovered it. You like that. Advantage Miami in terms of turnovers. Defense, I mean, basically, Andrew Van Ginkel played his lights out. They end up having 4 sacks. Cowboys had 1 sack. And then you get down here to the kicking game. And I've highlighted it so you guys can see it. Jason Sanders, 5 for 5, 57-yarder as his longest, 16 points. 16 points by your kicker. 16 points. He doesn't do that, they lose. It's that simple. He doesn't bomb a 57-yarder, they lose. He doesn't bomb a 54-yarder, they lose. He doesn't bomb a 52-yarder, they lose. Definitely, in my mind, that's the player of the week. They probably won't give it to a kicker. They'll probably give it to Lamar or somebody. But that, to me, was the player of the week, and that was the MVP of this game. Excuse me, Jason Sanders is the MVP. I know you guys saw the pictures of the team carrying him off the field and then in the locker room just exalting about Jason Sanders. That's the guy. That's the guy who was the difference. Not Tua, not Achane, not Mostert, not Tyreek. The difference in this game was Jason Sanders. And I also have to give a hat tip, a huge hat tip, to Mike McDaniel. And here's why. It takes a lot of chutzpah to send a guy out there and say, hey man, can you kick a 57-yarder? Yeah, I can do it. Because the player's always going to say, I got it. The player's always going to say, hey, I can do this. And he took the chance that Jason Sanders could kick a 57-yarder. Damn. And then he took a chance that he could hit a 54-yarder on 4th down. And then he took a chance. At that point, it probably wasn't much of a chance. He saw that the guy was kicking lights out and, get your butt out there and go kick me a 52-yard. Get me 3 more points. When you have that kind of weapon in your arsenal where you feel confident and comfortable that basically all you have to do is get past the 50-yard line and you're going to score, you may not score a touchdown, but hey, listen, if I get to the 40-yard line, yeah, about the 40. If I get to the 40-yard line, we're good for 3 points. Will it happen every game? I don't know. I know going up to Baltimore, it's supposed to be 48 degrees or so. It's going to be colder. Conditions might have been perfect this week with lower humidity. It was cool. It wasn't hot. Whatever it was. But if you look at these stats, both kickers, given the opportunity, just bombed the ball. And you have to give a second hat tip to Jake Bailey. Jake Bailey, on more than one occasion, flipped the field. If you watched the game, you saw how many times Dallas had to start their drives inside the 10-yard line. That wasn't because of defense. That was because of Jake Bailey just killing it and dropping that ball way back. So the kicking of this game absolutely won the game. I know people don't like to hear that because they think it's a negative on Tua and they get all freaked out. But it's true. It's absolutely true. Did Tua play bad? No, he didn't play bad. He played well. Did he win the game? Nope. Did Dak Prescott play well? Yeah, he played marginally well. It was the kicker who won this game. 16 points. I couldn't fathom watching that game going, you got to be kidding me. Dallas is going to hold the Dolphins to basically 1 touchdown. I mean, wasn't it 1? Yeah, 16. Yeah, to 1 touchdown and lose. I mean, you walk into any meeting room and you're talking to a defensive coordinator and say, listen, I think we can hold the Miami Dolphins to 7 points. I think defensive coordinator and head coach are going to go, we're going to win. If we can hold the Dolphins offense, this high potency offense to 7 points, yeah, we're going to win. We got this, man, with no problem. Dallas Cowboys held the Miami Dolphins offense in check for 7 points and got beat. I mean, I'm sure the flight back to Dallas was like, oh my God, what just happened? How did this shit just happen? How did this guy just come off the bench and hit a 57-yarder, then duplicate it with a 54, then triplicate it with a 52. That is incredible. And Jason Sanders, I know he got the big paycheck last year and people were thinking about cutting him. Dude's safe. As long as you don't get into the playoffs and, revert back into your old ways, that was amazing how Jason Sanders played and what he kicked and how he did it. And 16 points from a kicker. He bailed out the team. He bailed them out and he won the games. He bailed them out so much that people yesterday and today were hardly talking about him. I was on Twitter and I was monitoring it and I was watching what people were saying. And, again, the swarm of people, Tyreek did this and Tua did that and Mostert, it was a great play here and Bradley Chubb. And I'm like, y'all realize this game was gone. This game is a lost cause. You scored 7 points. Actually, I can't say that. You scored 6 points. The offense scored 6 points. Everybody talks about how many yards the offense gets and how many points per game, and they scored 6 points. Let that set in. And when that sets in, you realize how big of a game Jason Sanders had and what he meant and how he helped not just win this game, but possibly set the Dolphins up for the playoff run. You saw what the Buffalo Bills had done. They're coming. Not to use the Deion Sanders metaphor, but they coming. They definitely coming. They had a little problem with the Chargers, but I don't think they're going to have a problem moving forward. They smell it. They smell it at this point. They understand what lies ahead. And I think all of them will be down to the Hard Rock or whatever casinos they have up in Buffalo and betting big on Baltimore, saying, come on, Baltimore, you got to beat these guys. You got to beat these guys because we want them. We want the Miami Dolphins. I can tell you right now, the entire Buffalo team is just, we got to have this. So it's setting up for a fantastic end of the season, an absolutely fantastic finish here. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what happens. As for this game, the Baltimore game, I'm going to talk about that in the next day or so, and we can go over that and talk about that. But big challenge, absolutely big challenge, even a bigger challenge than the Dallas Cowboys. A much bigger challenge than the Dallas Cowboys. Waiting to hear, obviously, how Kyle Hamilton is. Kyle Hamilton is their great safety from Notre Dame. Go Irish. And he hurt himself at the end of the game. If he's going to be okay. If any of you guys heard about him playing, if he's going to be okay, let me know, because I couldn't find anything. They kind of were hush-hush about it. So with that, let's go ahead and take a few comments. Dad Dean, you are absolutely right. There it is. That Elliott stop was a big play. Yeah, think about that. The Elliott stop and the fumble that Dallas had on the 1 yard line. Those two, it could have gone the other way in a hurry. And Deshaun Elliott was able to stop. Why the guy didn't dive, I don't care why he didn't dive. Deshaun Elliott just wrapped him up and put him down. Hey, what's going on, George? How you guys doing? Hope you had a Merry Christmas. Amen, brother. I'm glad I'm a part of it. I love my Dolphins. Yeah, it was a fantastic game. Anytime you get a game down to the last second and something like that happens, you have to salute both teams. You guys played your heart out. You left everything on the field. You left nothing to chance. You put it all out there. What was it? 3 minutes and 15 seconds, 3 minutes and 18 seconds left to it, and the offense got on the field and had to go all the way down to get Jason Sanders in a position to kick the field goal. That is a big thing as well. No turnovers. The running game, they pushed into Dallas territory. Mike McDaniel, no mistake with communication, no stupid penalties, was able to run the clock down. That was flawless. And that kind of muscle memory can take this team a lot further. The offense closed it out. Yep, absolutely. No problems there. Win. That's one of the worst sayings I hate. A win is a win, because it's making excuses. Jason Sanders was the man. Period. Jason Sanders not only won the game, he got them into the playoffs for 2 consecutive years. Yep, you're right. He did it against the Jets last year, and he did it again. Got his money. Waddle. All right, so a lot of people have been talking about Waddle. That's the only thing really that struck me. There's one other thing I'll talk about later. I don't think he's been healthy for a number of weeks, and now he's hurt again. He's got a high ankle sprain, which basically is just about the same thing that Tyreek had. And Tyreek, missed 2 games and couldn't play. Now it's Waddle's turn. And I don't think a speedster, again, it was the same thing I said about Tyreek. I don't think a speedster can be hurried back from a high ankle sprain. Not like a big guy in the offensive line, you just wrap it up and just do it all tight, and you're just pushing the guy in front of you. But everything from his drive step to his cuts, you saw Tyreek warm up before they scratched him in the game. Same thing with Waddle. Now he's got to see, can I push off? Can I cut? Can I do all the things I need to do that won't inhibit me? Whereas, Cedric Wilson may have to come off the bench. So watch out for that the rest of the week. I doubt he practices tomorrow. He probably won't practice Wednesday or Thursday. And then they've got to travel, so let's see what happens with him. Yep, George, I said that. I said run it up the gut. It seemed as though Mike didn't want to do that at the early part of the game. He was still trying to toss things outside and see, and the speed just caught up to them. He had to go straight ahead, off tackle, and run like that. And I'm telling you, that's going to happen again this weekend. I'll get into that in another video, but don't try to run away from the Baltimore Ravens. They will catch you. I mean, you just got through Micah Parsons. Now you got Roquan and some of these guys on the Ravens. They really don't have a weakness. As you saw against the 49ers, they really don't have a weakness. So I don't know what he's going to scheme up. Did you notice? It was really interesting. Maybe Tyreek still wasn't 100%, but there wasn't a whole lot of the jet motion. It was almost like Mike scrapped that early and said, we're going to have to play some somewhat traditional football here, which I love. I absolutely loved. I loved that they played the game against the team that they had to play, and they won. None of that zippity-doo-dah crap all over the field. They actually played, traditional football for the most part. Wide receivers need to do a better job at blocking. I don't think that's going to happen. These guys ain't wired for it. These wide receivers are speed burners. They're not wired for blocking at the point of attack. Chase Claypool, he's a good blocker. Not sure why he's not on the field, but he's going to have to do something. My Long fan says, I was rooting for Baltimore to win last night. I didn't want to play them next week after a loss because it's hard to beat a good team 2 weeks in a row. Okay. Yeah, but they're playing at home. Oh, I forgot about him. You're absolutely right. Did you guys see a tight end show up on Sunday? Because, wow, Durham Smythe showed up. Let me find those stats again. How many catches did Durham Smythe have? For a tight end that was never around. Look at this, guys and ladies. Durham Smythe had 5 receptions for 56 yards. He was thrown at 5 times, so he caught everything to it, threw at him. Gotta love that. Have to love that, man. All year long, we've been saying, bring out the tight end, bring out the tight end. Let's see what the tight end can do. Boom, 5 for 56. That was amazing. We don't have a tight end next year. Well, you don't think they're going to re-sign him? I mean, they better. I mean, they need somebody. Let's see here. Do I think the Dolphins have enough physically up front to handle the Ravens' defensive line? Depends on who's playing. Not sure who's going to be coming in, but I don't think, and I don't mean this in any sort of derogatory way, I don't think there's many teams in the entire league who physically can go up against the Ravens' defensive line. You saw what happened yesterday. The San Francisco 49ers are basically the big bullies in the NFC, and they got humbled. They got absolutely humbled. Yeah, Brock Purdy had a shitty game, but sometimes your shitty game is because you're being dictated to. You're being told, or you think that something's open that it's not open. I mean, Kyle Hamilton was just baiting Brock Purdy back there, just baiting him. Now, I've heard a lot of people, it's so funny to me, a lot of people talking about last year's Baltimore game when Tua brought the team back and they scored, 30 points in a row, and Tua threw for 490 yards. Do you remember that touchdown where Tyreek was wide the F open? Do you remember that? Well, on that play, if you go back and play that, and probably the one beforehand, Kyle Hamilton looked lost. He looked absolutely lost. He was a rookie coming out of Notre Dame. They threw him into the starting lineup, and he just didn't seem to have a clue. And so I see people compare last year's game and go, well, we did it last year. I'm like, hey, pump your brakes. That's a whole different team. That's a whole different team that has another year under their belt. And you saw yesterday, Kyle Hamilton is not the same guy who played against the Dolphins last September. I think it might have been his first or second pro game. And people are saying, oh, yeah, well, Tua did it to him last year. He'll do it again to him this year. Hey, this kid's got 2 years under his belt at this point. A full season last year and a full season this year, and he's not the same kid. Now, at the same time, the Dolphins aren't the same. Dolphins are completely different with Achane out there, and Tyreek's had an additional year under Mike McDaniel's offense. So the teams that are going to be playing this Sunday are not the same teams that played last year. Just forget that. You just make sure, do a Mandela effect. Make sure that didn't even happen. Don't let that even enter into your mind what happened last year. These are two is a different player. Completely different teams. Completely. And so you can't even look at comparing that. And I think I see a bunch of people on Twitter talking about it, and I'm like, man, there are so many differences. You can start with Tua. Tua wasn't doing this two-step, 2.4 second release thing. That was something Mike McDaniel put in this year. Tyreek, he admitted, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was playing sandlot football and just making shit up as I went. Tyreek now knows the plays. And then, of course, that's what I already said about Baltimore. So you got two teams that are basically 2 years into this system. They're not going to be surprised. Remember, this was early in the season last year. And they didn't know what to expect. And all of a sudden, Kyle Hamilton's back there and Tyreek's hosting that defense. This is a different squad altogether. We didn't have the number 4 overall D last year. True. I'm going to piss you off, I'm going to tell you this right now. The Dolphins don't have the number 4 defense this year. Oh, Barry, I've seen the stats. And this is one of the things that, Colin Cowherd said, and people get pissed off, is like, when you take into account the whole body of work, the Dolphins have the number 4 defense in the league. But we're talking playoff time, baby. We're talking playoffs, not practice, playoffs. You got to look at the performance of the defense against the top teams that they've played. I would only look at a microcosm of the Eagles, Kansas City, Dallas, and Buffalo, and look at those games and go, okay, what did the defense do against those teams? Adjust your stats and look at a realistic picture. If not, you may get disappointed. That's why I break it down like, I don't care what they did against the Broncos. I don't care what they did against the Patriots. I don't care what they did against the Jets. I want to know what the picture is. And I guarantee you, the coaches do the exact same thing. What happened in these 4 or 5 games? And how did we stack up in these 4 or 5 games? Now tell me what you supposedly rank. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to me as a player. Doesn't matter to me as a coach. What I want to know is, how am I going to face the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills in the next 2 weeks? And all those stats and bullshit that people talk about don't mean dick. Excuse my language. Don't mean anything. Because you got basically at this point, yeah, you could probably lose one of these next 2 games and still get into the playoffs. Actually, they're already in the playoffs. But once you get past Buffalo, you have to win every single game. It's win or go home. Your stats mean nothing. The board gets wiped clean. Right now, Buffalo's playing that way. Buffalo knows it doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter that we scored 48 on the Dolphins. None of it matters. No, but Josh Allen, you've gotten 40 doesn't matter. It's all about what I do today. I'm trying to give you a different perspective so you don't hang on these stats. One of the stats that we can now finally forget about is Tyreek getting 2,000 yards. It ain't going to happen. And I think the Dolphins are better off because of that. I think Mike McDaniel may have tried to lean on that fact and was trying to get Tyreek to 2,000 yards. And I saw a team that looked more confident and got more people involved in the game when he wasn't having to look for Tyreek every single play. Just pull up the stats. You can just pull one guy and say it's a different team. Durham Smythe. Durham Smythe got 5 targets. 5 targets against the Cowboys. Go back and see when another game he got 5 targets. That 2,000-yard thing, done. Forget about it. Never needs to be brought up the rest of the season. Now it's just, hey, you had a great season. You may still be in the running for an MVP. Who knows? But 2,000 yards is off the table. Now we just need to win. And basically, I think, and I don't mean this from an elimination standpoint, I think the Dolphins need to win both the next games. Very why? If they lose one, they're still in. It's not about that. It's about momentum. At this point, you need to basically stoke the fire. You don't want a letdown. I know it's a lot of pressure, but you might as well get used to it because once you get into January, you got to win every single game. Every single game. There is no tomorrow. Win or go home. Period. Right now, I can tell you the Kansas City Chiefs. I can't believe I was going to say that. Right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are thinking, "Oh shit, what do we do?" I mean, they scored 14 points in 7 seconds on us. We basically handed them the game. Mahomes fumbled, then he threw a pick 6 in 2 consecutive plays. The team looks like they're in shambles, absolute shambles. Do you think for an instant that they care that they've won the Super Bowl twice? Do you think they care for an instant how many passes and touchdowns Patrick Mahomes has thrown? Or you think Andy Reid is going to get these guys focused and go, you need to win these next 2 games. You need to get your shit together. Hey, Taylor, stay the F away. We don't want you in the stadium. Which leads me to another thing. I'll take some more comments. Excuse me. I was so happy after the Dolphins scored. It looks like they got together to do one of those end zone celebration, and I couldn't see who called it off. But you see them all look at each other, and somebody said, we ain't doing that shit right now. We got to win this game. We are not in a position to go showboating and doing all this kind of stuff. And I doubt you'll see it in the next 2 games unless they blow out Baltimore or blow out Buffalo. This is a whole different time. So I got game. That's what I mean. This isn't the time to talk about stats. They don't mean shit. They absolutely don't mean anything to anybody other than fans. But I'm trying to tell you from a player perspective and locker room perspective, hey guys, time to ignore that shit. Let's see here. Mostert. Yeah, that's a good point. If they win the next 2 games, they get the bye and own home field. Motivation right there. Got to keep going. Keep your foot on the gas. Don't take up. What's up, Captain Swole? I love that you changed your name to Captain Swole's Bench Press Chronicles. The timing for a TD celebration would have been really bad. Really bad. Yeah, that would have been really off. Yes, no more end zone celebrations. It's almost like you got to the dance. You've clinched the playoff berth. Now you got to win some playoff games. So 11-4, all the different things that you feel very proud of. Let me ask you. I'll put it this way to you: if the Dolphins did the dances and they're 11-4 and they end up being 12-5 to finish the season, or whatever number, 13-4, and they go one and done, would you consider this season a success? And the answer to your question is going to separate you from a fan mentality to a player's mentality. if they win their next 2 games, they go 13-4, and then lose in the playoffs right off the bat, do you consider that a success? I can guarantee you right now that if they go one and done, the team won't consider it a success. Fans will cheer, hey, you guys had a great year. No, we didn't. We didn't have a great year because we didn't get to where we wanted to go. We have the talent, we have the coaching, we have the ability. Everything is in place to win right now. And those of you who think that 13-4, if they were able to win the next couple games, is going to be sufficient, you're not thinking clearly. You're thinking selfishly. You're thinking that, hey, listen, we haven't been this far in years. We haven't won this many games since the Marino days. Doesn't matter. That doesn't friggin' matter. That's why my attitude has been the way it's been through the last 6 or 7 months. It's like, I don't care about these intermediate games. I don't care about beating up on the Broncos by 50 points. I don't care about beating the Jets without Aaron Rodgers and having Tim Boyle as quarterback. Doesn't float my boat. This is when I get really interested in. This is when we get to late December, early January, and on. I hope to be doing this come February. Last year, we were done. Tua got hurt. They couldn't win in Buffalo, and we were done watching other people play. I don't want to see that. To me, that's a failure. PD says we are getting the number 1 seed, 13-4. Everyone be coming to Miami. Bank it. Good. Yeah, Manny. Super Bowl. I mean, I don't think they have to win the Super Bowl, but I really think you have to get there to be able to call yourself a success. That means you won your conference, which is something. The rehearsed celebrations are what pissed me off. This takes time that should be put into practicing situational football and timing. Yeah, you only got so many practices per week. You basically have 2. And an away game, it's even harder because you got to pack up and travel. Luckily, they're only going up to Baltimore, so it's not a big deal. But, obviously, some of those things took some choreographing and some time, which they took a long time to put that shit together. The playoff picture now, who would Miami face in the playoffs? As of today, with Miami in the number 2 spot, the Dolphins would face the Indianapolis Colts. That's as of today. Obviously, it's fluid, as Stephen A. Smith says. There's a lot that can happen in the next 2 weeks. But as of today, they would face the, what do you call it? I just said Indianapolis Colts. So let me show you what I mean here. Because that's a good question I'd like to cover because there's so much speculation out there and everything else, like what's going on. So let me get to the playoff picture so I can pull it up for you. Let me shrink that comment. All right, so here's the playoff picture as of today. Monday Night Football's over. We're into the next week, and here it is as today. You've got Baltimore Ravens at number 1, Miami Dolphins at number 2, Kansas City Chiefs still at number 3, Jacksonville Jaguars. Man, talk about that division. You can really suck and still win. Cleveland Browns. That's amazing. The Buffalo Bills have moved up into the 6th position, and number 7 would be the Indianapolis Colts. So how it works is Baltimore Ravens, as of today, would get the bye. They won't play. Then 2 would play 7. So Miami would play the Colts. And then 3 would play 6. So the Chiefs would play the Bills. And then Jacksonville would play the Cleveland Browns. That's as of today. So you can see a lot of stuff can happen here. I mean, there's all kinds of programs out there. You can click on buttons and try to do some prognosticating and see who's going to show up where. But, man, I can't believe so late in the season, there's still so much open here. So if the Colts were to lose, look who's behind him. You got the Houston Texans. I don't know if C.J. Stroud's going to be back. And you got the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. So there's a bunch of teams still in it. That's just amazing. You got the Colts at 8-7, the Texans at 8-7, the Steelers at 8-7, and the Bengals at 8-7. All of them are still in it for that last spot. And that's assuming the Bills don't lose. And that's assuming, well, the Jaguars doesn't really matter because they're in that shitty division. So and then Cleveland Browns. So here's why it's important that the Dolphins keep pace, because if they were to lose, and I don't want to go into all the prognosticating, but if the Dolphins were to lose and go to 11-5, and the Browns would win and go to 11-5, I mean, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts what could happen here and how things could flip and all kinds of things. So it's important that the Dolphins just focus on winning. Just got to win, baby. You're absolutely right. Your Steelers are indeed fighting for their playoff lives. They're not out of it. Here we are going into the 16th week or 17th week, and they're still not out of it. No AFC division clinched yet. Also, nope. Ravens are in. They lost their next two games. The Browns could win. All kinds of things can happen. It's absolutely crazy. Browns just lost their starting quarterback for the year. Dude, have you not been following along? You must not have been following along. Here's something why stats don't mean anything. You ready for this? Joe Flacco, who was basically watching Netflix and chilling a couple of weeks ago, is now the number one rated passer in the AFC. Everyone's going to laugh. Nope. Joe Flacco, a 40-year-old former Super Bowl winner who they called off the couch, is now the passing leader in the AFC. And you're thinking, Barry, I'm just telling you. He's thrown for 300 yards per game. He's just been killing it. And so, no, they didn't lose their starting QB for the year. He is their starting quarterback. I don't think if, what's his name, PJ Walker was okay, that they'd even let him take Flacco's place at this point. Flacco isn't playing well enough to let their defense win these games. Absolutely. Flacco is still playing. He's killing it. Flacco, the blue hen from Delaware. Absolutely. Hey, Tom, what's going on? Where's this? Robert Jarvis says. He said, man, I listen to your show every day, and it amazes me how people think that just because we beat a team a year ago that we could do it again, and this is a whole different year, a whole different team. I just think some of these people are functioning illiterates. I just don't understand how you can look at that game. And I believe, you guys can check, I believe it was the first or second game of last season. So all the rookies who had to play, one of them obviously being Kyle Hamilton, and we all know, like I said, Tyreek said, I don't know the plays. I'm just out here just making shit happen. This is completely different. Two completely different teams. You can't even, I don't get it. It's crazy. You have to pay attention to all the teams. Tom says it's forecast for sunny and 50 in Baltimore. Weather not an issue. If you're going to get 50 degrees in late December in Baltimore, take it all day. I remember I went up to a conference up in Baltimore in November of last year. Man, it was so friggin' cold. I mean, it was just icy rain. It was miserable. So if you can get in the wind coming off the harbor, you guys ever been to the harbor, Baltimore Harbor? Inner Harbor. Very nice place. But now the goons have taken it over, basically. Flacco means what in Italian? I can't tell you. That's just too funny. Where'd that go? What does Miami have to do to beat the Ravens? I'm going to be digging into that in the next couple days and looking at what we need to do. I can tell you one big factor without even doing any research, and I think everybody in here could probably name this one factor, is you better find a way to put a leash on Lamar Jackson. I mean, if he just can do what he wants, and I mean, if he gets past the line of scrimmage, AVG isn't going to catch him. David Long isn't going to catch him. Are you going to have to spy him to make sure if he takes off that you got somebody with him? Even if you spy him, you may want to put a defensive back there because he'll run away from AVG and David Long. So to me, I haven't really dug in all the way, but one of the huge keys to the game is don't let Lamar Jackson cook. If he improvises and finds something, if you thought watching the Cowboys game And there was one or two plays where Dak Prescott took off and made like a 25-yard run, and then it got called back because of a penalty. And people were like, wow, he's mobile. You ain't seen shit yet. If Lamar Jackson can do what he wants and he can run around, the Dolphins will be in for a long, long day. I mean, you got receivers out there, Zay Flowers and OBJ and a big tight end, so you can't press him, but you got to contain him. Bradley Chubb and AVG, and I mean, you're going to have a huge job. And so I haven't even broken down the game yet, but I just know, and I think you all agree, that's the one key. I mean, if you're asking what does Miami have to do to beat the Ravens, find some way to put Lamar Jackson in a box. Yeah, I mean, he's what did Colin Cowherd say? Was it Colin? I don't know who said it, but somebody's like, he was just, at some point, he's like got second and third gear. He's running around back there, and then when he decides to turn on the Jets, he just takes off. So that, to me, is going to be the biggest thing. Dolphins offensive long drives. We won last time. Was there down 20. Doesn't matter. You didn't hear what we said earlier. Don't forget last year. Just completely forget it. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean a thing. What do we got here? Oh, this is a good point. Spying with Bonner. Bonner's got that 4.3 speed as well, and have. I mean, you at that point you're going to make someone one-on-one out there, but it's a good idea. Have somebody out there who can watch him. Collapse the pocket from the middle. So you set the edge, and then you want to collapse the pocket from the middle, and that way force him to stay in contain. If they can do it, yeah, that could work. Achane needs to get going, and I don't know, man. I don't know. You guys tell me. You watched that game. Did he look like he was 100% too? To me, Achane looked like he just wasn't all there. Like he didn't have that next gear. He just didn't look as fast and explosive as he usually looks. So I don't know if he might still be ailing somewhat himself. Of course, they're not going to tell you that. They're just going to make him active. He's going to play. But he just didn't look like himself to me. If Miami beats the Ravens, then we're definitely winning the Super Bowl. Why would you say that? And I'm just going to draw my attention to the word definitely, because you can't possibly know that. And then right behind it, Miami isn't beating Ravens or Bills. Stop with the delusional nonsense. I love fans. So it's Captain Swole, you got something here. The Ravens are not small up front like the Cowboys, and also the Cowboys are missing their defensive tackle. The Ravens actually have real NFL-sized linebackers that can run. You're talking about Roquan, and I forget the other guy's name. Yeah, it's like having two Micah Parsons. Not just one, two of them. Roquan is just, I can't believe the Chicago Bears traded him to the Ravens, basically here. But yeah, he's unbelievable. Dolphins need to go 4-0 in order to reach the Super Bowl. Maybe 3-1. You could lose one of these next two games for sure, but then you're going to have to win all of them after that, every single one. No room for error. This is where it gets funny. Baltimore. Patrick Queen from LSU. That's the other linebacker. Yeah, he can run. Hey, Vipey, glad you showed up. If you fast forward, you just missed. You could go back and listen, but we've been talking about different things. They didn't have Roquan last year when we came back. No, and like I said, Kyle Hamilton was a rookie. There's just so many things different than it was before. Okay, so yeah, the PD says he wasn't, we're talking about Achane, he is not 100%. He lost some explosiveness. He's at 90. And there wasn't much room to run as well, which he's going to find out again with Baltimore. The guys that want to go outside, and if you're not prepared to run between the tackles, Mostert's a little bit bigger. He got banged up as well. So let's see what happens, who they're going to bring in. Is Howland coming back? We did not have Ramsey last year. Yeah, so it's completely different. was no Ramsey on the field, and now Ramsey's there as well. Is Holland coming back? I don't know. Hopefully, we'll see in the first injury report. I mean, he's been out for a couple weeks now, so maybe he's gonna be back and ready to go. Also, Harbaugh isn't a complete moron this year. I swear his dumb decisions in games cost him several games last year. Yeah, they brought in a new. Trying to think of the guy's name. New offensive coordinator as well, who's really helped out Lamar Jackson. Time for how about Robert Hunt? I think Robert Hunt, his hamstring was messed up, so we'll see if he can get back out on the field. Let's see what we hear. Holland is Tom says Holland is still questionable. 2 MCL sprains. 2? Oh wow, that sucks. That really sucks. Let's see here. Where's Chris Brooks? He was in uniform. He was on the sidelines. They didn't put him in. I can't tell you why. Where is this? Tua can win when teams blitz and gets what's coming the next 2 weeks. Yeah, there's probably some pressure. There's definitely going to be some pressure coming. So let me go ahead and segue into something that really just got my gourd today. And so everybody knows that Colin Cowherd last week said the Cowboys were going to destroy the Miami Dolphins. Oh, they were going to beat the hell out of the Miami Dolphins. Didn't happen. And people got all up in arms about it. And today, he said that don't even bother putting Tua in the same breath as Lamar Jackson in regards to the MVP race. And then people got all up in arms about that. And of course, the normal response was he's a clown, he's an idiot, he's a whatever pejorative you want to put in there. And I just wanted to basically talk about that for a second. If you don't like liver, you probably don't go to a restaurant that's got a liver emporium. Oh, we've got liver and onions, we've got chicken livers, we got turkey liver. You probably don't go there because you don't like liver. You would never go to that restaurant. The Liver Emporium. You wouldn't go. I ain't eating that shit. I don't want it. I'm not even going to consume it. Don't want it. It's amazing to me, simply stunning, that people talk crap about guys like Nick Wright and Colin Cowherd, and to a much lesser extent, yours truly. And they all over Twitter. They cut the clips. They put the clips out there. They share the clips. Oh, this guy's a... And I'm thinking to myself, do you realize that you're the reason why he says what he says? Do you realize how many things you clip and put out there and talk and bitch about and call him names that you're still talking about him? I wouldn't go to the liver restaurant because I don't like it. It's too easy just to ignore what somebody says than to bitch about it. To me, shitposting has become a national pastime, especially with some of the Dolphins fans. If you don't like what Colin Cowherd says, if you don't like what Nick Wright says, if you don't like what Emmanuel Acho said, if you don't like these things, why watch it? There's so much opportunity for you to watch whatever you want to. I mean, there's a gazillion television channels and there's a 10 gazillion YouTube channels, and everything you could possibly want is on Twitter. Why don't people just ignore what you don't like? Why do you consume something that you absolutely despise and then tell other people, look at this crap that I hate, and I want you to look at it? What is the pleasure in that? I just wouldn't, again, using my analogy, belly up to a table and have a big old basket of chicken livers and tell my wife, hey, listen, you need to smell this. Smell these chitlins. You got to have some of this. And my wife's like, hey, man, I don't want no chitlins. I don't want no chicken livers and gizzards. Why did you even take me here? Why did you show me this? And I'm just saying, as a person who's involved in marketing and social media and have been there for years with the advertising agencies, is like, don't consume it. If you don't like what somebody says, if you don't like someone's opinion, even if it's fake, even if you think he's just saying it to get clicks, then it's working. You have to applaud him. It's just the opposite. If you're all pissed off what Colin Cowherd says, do you realize today the words Colin Cowherd and Cowturd were trending on Twitter? In order for something to trend, that means there's a massive amount of people talking about it. I have never, and I hope you haven't been, never been into anything like S&M. I don't want to go someplace. I don't want my wife to put her heels on my chest and whip me and all kinds of crap and pour candle wax on the nipples. I'm not into that. Why are people into getting whipped? Why are you consuming stuff that you absolutely hate and then get pissed off because other people are talking about it? And I tried to do an experiment today, and I was like, oh my God, these people are masochistic. They just can't understand it. So he came out with something, and I said, it was, again, like I said, it was Tua shouldn't be mentioning it in the same breath with Lamar Jackson. So I retweeted it, and it was just amazing because then they started attacking on me. Like, I can't believe you put that out there. And, he's being an idiot, and you're just promoting his stuff. And one guy said, you're complicit. Like, complicit in what? Was there a crime committed? People, this is social media. These guys know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly how to trigger you and push your buttons. Every single one of them knows how to do that. Does Colin believe what he says? I don't know. Don't know the guy. Never met him. But I know he's a master of creating content that causes controversy. He's a master of elevating emotions. And these people walk head on into the ocean and with no life preserver and just dive in. It makes no sense to me. I can tell you whatever I say, I'm actually believing. I'm not doing it just to, quote, get clicks. It's what I believe. I don't have any desire to basically make shit up and spit it out into a camera just so I can see how bad can I make these people go nuts. You're a Dolphins fan if you're watching this, or you may not like the Dolphins and you're watching this. I'm just saying, just be careful what you consume. It happens politically. It happens in sports. And I just sit back sometimes and go, look at this crap. Look at these people acting like complete fools, not realizing they have 100% control of what you consume. Nobody is sitting there and prying your eyes open and go, read this, watch this. And they can't look away. They just can't look away. And so understand what you're looking at and what you're getting into. Clicks are all these guys care about. Without clicks, they're nothing, so they say anything. That could be true. But you're giving it to them. You are absolutely giving it to them. You're feeding the cat at the doorstep. You're putting that milk out there and lapping it up. Cat's lapping it up, and you're going to keep feeding that cat, and he's going to keep coming back. Thank you for keep coming back to my stuff, but you have to understand, you're the meat. You're the red meat. I'll throw it out there, and Colin is going to stir it up, and it's almost like some sort of hypnotism, trance that people have been put in. Just let it go. Let's see what people talking about. Exactly. It's why I stopped watching Whitlock lately. Why punish myself? Oh yeah, me too. Jason Whitlock is perfect. He doesn't do this stuff in terms of anti-Dolphins, but I was really into watching Deion Sanders this year. I really liked what he was doing, and every single day, Jason Whitlock would absolutely destroy Deion, not just as a football coach, but as a person. And I'm thinking to myself, what person would watch this stuff? Obviously, people have the same ideology as Jason Whitlock, which, God, that's sad. You don't have your own sense to understand. But then, just like Captain Swole said, I was like, I had enough. Ain't watching it no more. Doesn't appeal to me. I don't want to see it. So that's it. It is not possible to hear the talking heads and say, hey, I agree with that, and I disagree. Here's why, without the vitriol and ad hominems. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some stuff he says I agree with. I completely agree with. I actually kind of agreed with him today without the nasty part that he said about Tua, about not putting Tua into the same breath. He could have just said, right now, Lamar Jackson is head and tails above everybody else currently in the MVP race, and just could have put a period right there. I don't think many people would have a problem with that. But then he added, and so please don't mention Tua in the same breath with him. And all of a sudden, boom, heads exploded. But his premise, I can't disagree with. I think Lamar, number one team in the AFC, destroyed the number one team in the NFC. Currently, as Stephen A. Smith says, it's fluid. It's fluid. But currently, he has shown himself to be the MVP of the league. And of course, you know what the step soldiers did. The step soldiers stepped in and started firing stats. And that's why I always say, forget the stats. That don't mean shit right now. We're into the 16th week of the season. You got to win. You got to lose. You got to win playoff games. Just go from there. Dolphins have been practicing their TD celebrations, not how to pass when teams blitz. That's pretty funny. Dude, I hope your wife, girlfriend, doesn't judge you based on things you did 2 years ago. Because that statement means absolutely nothing. Nothing. And I'm telling you from a player's perspective, if I'm Mike McDaniel, I've probably told these guys, don't even watch last year's film. You just got to pay attention to this year's film. Last year's film is a joke. Erase it. Forget about it. Even your offensive player, your offensive best player said, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was out there playing street football. If Tyreek says that, how can you say that they beat the Ravens last 2 years as if it's some sort of indication of what could happen this Sunday? When the best player on the team said, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just doing it. You're saying we are better now? Sure. So are they. See, I mean, there's a counter argument to everything you're going to say. So are they. Roquan Smith, Roquan. Kyle Hamilton, another year under his belt. You saw him play last night. Not the same team. Not the same team. But can Miami score 24 points against the Ravens D? Now you've come back full circle to the future. Back to the future. My opening statement was the Miami Dolphins scored 6 points against the Dallas Cowboys. 6. 1 touchdown. That's it. Jason Sanders scored all 16 other points. So if you couldn't score if you couldn't score 24 points in offense against the Cowboys, someone tell me how they're going to do it against the Ravens. Or you're going to expect Jason Sanders to show up and kick 16 more points at field goal, which could happen. Could happen. Mike Point Perry, what's that? Yeah, exactly. If you didn't do it last week, how are you going to do it this week? Well, the way you do it is play differently. Come up with a bit better scheme. Figure out what's going to work. What receivers do Baltimore have that are better than Hill or Waddle? Define better. Because I'm thinking OBJ and Zay Flowers, and likely their tight end, are very competent in their offense. So you're going to compare Tyreek in this offense and compare Zay Flowers or OBJ in their offense? You can't do that, man. Can't do that. Yeah, Odell Beckham. Yeah, OBJ, absolutely. And Flowers, yes, Zay Flowers does remind me a lot of Hill. No one cares what you say, Clown. Q Woods. What? George, who you yelling at? No one cares what you say, Cloud. Q words are just words. Grow up. That's funny. I don't know who you're yelling at, but that happens. So yeah, I'm gonna be doing a couple more videos about the Ravens. One of the things, obviously, is Lamar Jackson figuring out how to contain Lamar Jackson and understand how much of a impact he has on the defense. I just don't think you can come flying and pin your ears back against him. He's way too fast. You may have to put a spy. I like that somebody said put Bonner as a spy. That could work. That could definitely work. But that's going to leave guys open one-on-one. And he's such an improvisational quarterback. That's the word. He's an improvisational quarterback. They ran a play yesterday reminding me of something the Dolphins would do. And in that play, the guy went through the end zone. He did like a play action. He looked over there, and then the guy was wide open. It looked like something Mike McDaniel would do. It was pretty cool. But we're going to see. We're going to see real quick. Did I cover everything I had here? Yeah, I think I did. Oh, one thing I wanted to let you guys know before I sign off here. You're going to notice a really big change in content. And here's the reason why I feel I owe it to you, so you guys know why. We're almost in January. Today's the 26th. So regardless if the Dolphins win more or lose, this season is coming to an end. It's not too far away. We're talking less than 60 days and this season is over. One of the things I learned, my scouting report, my coaching report from last year was this shit ends like, it's like somebody literally drops a bomb and everything stops in February, right after the Super Bowl. And I watched myself and I watched some other people struggle to create content just for the sake of creating content. And there's one thing I've learned extremely well on YouTube over the last year, is that nobody wants to look at last week's news. In about 2 or 3 days, nobody will be talking about the Cowboys and Dolphins. It's of no interest. It just goes away. And I've noticed a lot of the Dolphins YouTubers, and I got all kinds of software, and I can see what's going on, and I watch videos die, literally die 24, 36 hours after they've been posted because there's no interest. When you're doing a weekly preview video, well, that preview is done. The game's already been played. When you're doing a live stream of a game, the game's over. Why am I going to go watch a game that already been played to hear you guys talk about it? Why am I going to do a scouting report video? Why am I going to look at NFL rankings? Because it's over. Those things don't matter. And so I'm shifting. I'm still going to do some newsy stuff just to fill in some holes, but it's going to be a lot more stuff. Going to cover more teams. Probably going to do some basketball and ease that in. March Madness, going to talk about some of that stuff. But one of the big things that you're going to see, and I've done 2 of them now. The first one did really well, are little short video documentaries. So I did one on Will Levis, and it did really well. I was surprised. I dropped one today on Puka Nacua, and I want to see over the next 40 to 48 hours or so how that picks up. And I'm going to be dropping a lot of documentaries over the next couple months, probably 1 or 2 documentaries a week on different players and maybe on different sports, because you have to have, I'm just giving you guys a little hint, those of you who may want to do this stuff and get into video, the key to long-term growth isn't doing what did they do last week, or what's the outlook of the game, or who are you going to draft. The key is to have evergreen content that people can look at for a long time. Whether they're looking here in December or whether they're looking in March, the content is still relevant. So I just wanted to share that with you. If you start seeing some stuff and going, why in the hell is Barry talking about Puka Nacua? Now you know why. Why did Barry talk about Will Levis? Now you know why. Why is Barry going to do something about XYZ person? I just wanted to let you know, so if you start seeing this content come out, you don't think that Barry's lost his mind. It's that Barry knows that between basically February to April, when the draft comes, it's a wasteland. And I'm not going through that ever again. I am not going to force myself to make content just to make content. I'm going to do heavily on documentaries, little small documentaries, 10, 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, but a lot of documentary content. So if you'd like to see some, let me know. Please leave a comment as to what kind of documentary, who you'd be interested in. I'm looking at a lot of old-time football. I'm looking at probably doing something on the Steel Curtain with Joe Green and those guys. But just let me know what you guys think about that kind of alternative content. I'd love to hear from you guys and let me know what you're interested in, or if you're not interested at all. I did a poll, and a lot of people said, yeah, I like this kind of content. It's fresh, it's different, and it's timely. It just stays there. It doesn't go away. So thank you for Tua Tuesday. I think we're going to have a big one this week. We got the Ravens, and then next week, obviously, we got the Bills coming up. So I think the next couple weeks, we got a lot to talk about. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys. Again, if you're traveling, please be careful. Please keep your family safe. A lot of nuts out there on New Year's Eve. And I'd like to have you back next Tuesday, actually Sunday, and then Tuesday.